Suicide Squad movie, and you can't even get that right. It's DC's just been embarrassing, just really, really embarrassing.
No doubt.
Just it's kind of like and Aquaman. Am I the only one who thought that
Oh
Aquaman was
God.
trash?
Um,
Um.
it. Someone told me it was exceptional. I was like, all right. The only thing that stands out about it for me is that it's not as bad as these other ones, but that doesn't mean it's good. I just don't find it nearly as painful.
I was gonna say that Aquaman is visually good, but if you're going story wise, get ready to be drowning in pain.
Well, my issue with Jason Momoa as Aquaman is that, like, why would you cast Jason Momoa as Aquaman when like, if they want to do a Lobo movie, he looks just like Lobo.
Yes, yes.
Like, how he talks, his Aquaman. I'm like, why is this man Aquaman? He should be Lobo.
See, the thing is, because they were trying to go for that look with Aquaman, where he had the long hair and the hook hand, but they
Yeah,
don't
but they
even
changed
get
his look in the comics
Yeah.
to make him look like Jason Momoa. When I'm like, you guys could have cast someone to look like classic. Well, not classic, but like the more dude bro, hardcore, hook hand Aquaman. He eventually regrows his hand, so I don't know why they gave him a hook. I guess they wanted to make him look more hardcore because people are like, Aquaman needs to have an edge because for years he was kind of a joke character for some people.
Right.
But I'm like, no, Aquaman's actually pretty fucking powerful. Like,
Oh,
underwater, Aquaman can kick
like
Superman's
he's
ass
he's a
underwater.
he what do I call him? He's aquatic Black Panther. Seriously.
I would say he's aquatic Black Panther with a, like, in terms of his area of responsibility, but in terms of his power set, he's aquatic Superman.
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
He's
absolutely.
aquatic underwater. Aquaman can kick Superman's ass
Well,
underwater.
I guess Namor would be aquatic Black Panther more likely.
Yeah, Namor is aquatic Black Panther, but Aquaman is basically aquatic Superman. And somehow, instead of you guys taking Jason Momoa, who already, like, all of his mannerisms, his sayings, my man, like, literally, y'all should have just made a Lobo movie and
Yeah.
had him be Lobo.
See, yeah, no. When all these Game of Thrones actors start bringing the superhero movies, I was like, please, guys, stop. Don't write. Your fame's gonna die soon. Please
Yeah,
stop forcing it.
every time I see Jason Momoa, like, some people, if you're young, if you're in your age group, you're gonna think it's Khal Drogo from
Yeah.
from Game of Thrones. Me, I remember it was Ronan Dax from Stargate Atlantis.
Jesus.
It's Ronan Dax from Stargate Atlantis. What are you doing here, Ronan Dax? What are you doing here, Ronan? But yeah, like, Jason Momoa, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but his
Oh
acting,
It's in the wrong direction.
his acting ability is I don't know if he's not good at having good, like, he's not used to having good directors around him, or if he's just not either, or Zack Snyder's just a fucking terrible director when it comes to people. It could go either way.
I predict the second one.
Well, because Henry Cavill, like, everyone's like, Henry Cavill. I'm like, Henry Cavill's not that good of an actor. Like, Henry Cavill's thing is that he's really good looking, and when he's not acting, he seems to be very personable. Like, Henry Cavill's a nerd who made good, but
yeah.
like, his acting is not very good. Like his Man of Steel, he always has a who farted face on his face. Like, he always has this look like someone farted in this room. I don't know who it is. When I find out, I'm kicking their ass. Like, that's his Superman look.
And it sucks too because the most accolades I hear him about is his Witcher role. But the thing is, isn't Geralt just an emotionally stunted wooden man in the first place?
Exactly. Like, even as Geralt, he doesn't really show much emotion. Like, you want to know what Netflix's The Witcher really is? Like, everyone keeps on like, oh, it's brilliant. The Witcher is an adult Hercules: The Legendary Adventures.
Oh.
Except it's an adult version of that with a higher budget and sex.
Right.
That's all it is. Like, it's got a better budget. You've got a better actor, because Kevin Sorbo's a fucking terrible actor too.
I was
But
gonna say that explains why I never watched it. It wasn't that Hercules. I was more interested with Hercules than some ice people.
what, then Xena?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually, Xeno is going to be my first comparison, to be honest.
no. Xena was a spinoff from Hercules: The Legendary Adventures because her character appeared in Hercules: The Legendary Journeys, and they started out as enemies, and then they became like she found out. Oh wait, Ares is a piece of shit because in Hercules: The Legendary Adventures, Ares was always a piece of shit. And my problem with Hercules: The Legendary Journeys was just because like I took like when I was in high school, like once you got past your freshman year, ninth grade, you could take electives every year. Like you could take up to like 3 electives per year. And every year I took Greek mythology. So Greek mythology 1, Greek mythology 2, Greek mythology 3. By the 3rd year, it was a college level course. Like it was like Greek mythology as a Greek mythological culture. So like I really knew my Greek mythology, and the Legendary Journeys was so full of shit. it was such a because Greek mythology is R-rated. Like it's got a lot of rape, incest,
Yeah. Party guy
sex.
Dionysus, am I right?
It
I
is.
was gonna say it has a lot of Zeus being a dick.
All of them. All the gods
yeah.
are the only gods. The only gods who were the only gods. Well, there's only one god on Olympus who's kind of a cool dude. That's Hephaestus.
Hey.
And the only reason Hephaestus is a cool dude is because, Hephaestus is the most flawed of the Greek gods in terms of he's not physically attractive because apparently
he's the most mortal of the gods in a sense.
No, the reason he's not the most physically attractive is because when Zeus had Athena, gave birth to Athena himself, Hera was like, well, fuck that, I can create my own child. And she basically, it's implied, depending on which mythological source, she basically gave birth to Hephaestus herself. And when he wasn't, because he wasn't naturally...
He was pretty much a horror.
Well, he wasn't naturally born like from the union of a male and female. Like Hera basically self-created him herself. And when she saw that he wasn't gorgeous like the other Greek gods, she kind of hid him away. And but when he saw Zeus disrespecting his mother, he tried to rush up towards him, and Zeus wasn't having that shit. So he grabbed him by his leg and threw him off of Mount Olympus and fucked up his leg. So that's why he's got the limp. And like his mother didn't stand up for him.
Nice, like making bolts for daddy. Well, so daddy.
Yeah, I mean the thing is like Hephaestus just the man just gets fucked over all the time. Like married to Aphrodite, she's constantly fucking Ares. His mother Hera just doesn't love him. Zeus is the only god who kind of respects him. Just because of all the shit he creates. He's the Olympic gods Q. Comes up with all their gadgets and weapons and shit, but they have zero respect for him. It's kind of sad. But anyway, yeah, Hephaestus is the only Greek god who you can say, well, he never really cursed anyone who didn't have it coming or anything like that. Athena, who you could say is the closest one, she turned that poor girl Ariadne into a spider after she made a tapestry, a woven tapestry that showed the Greek gods as they actually were, depraved beings that did fucked up shit, which was the truth, and they couldn't handle it. So she turned her into a spider. Athena could be spiteful too. Apollo, you'd say, well, the god of truth, he was a rapist. He wasn't as bad as Zeus, but he was a rapist. Artemis, don't get me started on that crazy bitch.
Enough said.
Yeah, Hera.
They often threw Hades on the bus because I know in some interpretation Hades is just more so of a straightforward just allegory for death, while in a lot of media Hades just straight up an evil hand-rubbing villain.
Yeah, well, Disney's Hercules did that, but in Greek mythology, Hades isn't really the god of death. He's just the guy. He's basically an administrator of the underworld.
Yeah.
Like he's there to make sure that the dead don't rise above the earth and like get out of control. He's a manager. He's the manager of the underworld. That's all he does, and he's really rich. That's it.
He gets a bad rap for it.
Yeah. Like people are like, oh, the only bad thing he really did was kidnap
his niece, Persephone.
And that was his bad thing, because he was like, I'm tired of being lonely in the underworld. I mean, it's like it's understandable, really. You know, I mean, I'm not saying it was okay, but it's understandable. I would say that Demeter, she's just fucking like, she's not as bad as the other guys, but she's fucked up too. Hestia is okay. Yeah, Hestia is the only. Hephaestus and Hestia are the two guys you don't really hear a lot of shit about. Let's see who else. Hermes. Oh, that thieving bastard. Hermes. And of course, the big daddy of them all. Oh, Ares, who's a coward. Like the god of war, who's also a coward. As soon as he gets hurt, he runs away.
And his sister's nuts too.
Yeah.
Eris?
Yeah, Eris, the goddess of spite. But he also but he has a daughter called Tyche, the goddess of victory. So it's kind of weird. Then you've got the daddy of them all, Zeus, who's a serial rapist, rapes men and women, kidnaps men and women,
animals, things, anything. If it moves.
Some of the women are his great granddaughters or great great granddaughters. So it's incest and rape. But he's also the judger of kings and morality. It's weird. It's weird. The Greek gods are really interesting because they have human flaws. You know,
very human flaws and a lot of baggage on them.
Yeah, like a lot of baggage. But that's neither here nor there. Let's
start this party.
We kind of went off on a tangent, but hey, I like tangents. They're fun.
Yeah.
So we're live with another episode of BS Busters. I don't know what happened to Wednesday's cast. I guess something was wrong with my encoder, or YouTube was messing up or whatever, but for some reason it didn't work out. So this is the first cast. We didn't have a Wednesday's cast. Well, we did it, but it wasn't uploaded or something. I have no idea.
Weird.
But yeah, but I mean, you know, technology makes your life easier except when it doesn't. But with that being said, thank you for joining us. This is Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor of BS Busters. We have a few topics tonight, plus some extra stuff. So with that being said, let's have everyone introduce themselves. Starting with the lady, then the gentleman, and then myself, and then we'll dive into these topics.
Welcome, ladies and boys, girls, all ages to the BS Busters in the Week podcast. I'm Joey Monster, and they did it again.
Yeah. Like Britney Spears. Oops, I did it again.
Really? Did you?
Except I don't think they'd say oops. They're more like, yeah, we did it again. Okay then. Go ahead, Louie.
Hey everyone, Louie, glad to be back. Looks like some juicy talks today. Go on.
Okay then. So we have 5 main topics and some side ones if we get the chance. The main topics are E3 2022 canceled. They say they'll come back next year. Coromon. I know it's not on Switch yet. It was the Switch release was delayed, but I got it on PC because I pre-ordered it because I was like, this looks like it's going to be so much better than any Pokemon game we've gotten in the last 10 to 15 years. So I anything that gives us a different take on that formula. And I'll give you my thoughts on it. I played it on PC for about 8 hours. More Activision Blizzard bullshit. Morbius sucks, literally. Yes, I actually did. That's all I can really say. And an uncomfortable conversation. Also, if we have time, we'll cover Kirby and the Forgotten Land is apparently Japan's biggest Kirby game. It outperformed Kirby Superstar Ultra on DS. Capcom's Arcade Second Stadium is on its way to the Switch and PC. Neo Classic Arcade series from Platinum Games. Tomb Raider's Lara Croft cosplay. And finally, Rare's Everwild set to feature a large-scale multiplayer world. So, let's get to these main topics first. E3 2022 canceled.
Why am I not surprised?
Actually, I'm pretty much gonna say about time.
I mean, I'm glad that they didn't. I'm glad that they did it early instead of waiting
Holding
until
us
the
until
week
the last
before.
minute?
Well, I remember like 2 years ago when they canceled it. It was like 2 or 3 weeks before the shit was supposed to start. Like, oh, it's canceled. I'm kind of like I'm one of those people that I'm sad because I wanted to see what E3 would become once it became an online thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because E3, like, I know we like to talk shit about E3 and E3 sucks and all that stuff, but E3 does have a place in the industry. Maybe not for the big three or the big publishers, but if you're an indie developer or a smaller studio, going to E3 and showing off your demos of your games and shopping it out to Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, EA, Activision,
The big houses.
Ubisoft, like there's other like mid-tier studios, THQ Nordic, stuff like that. Shopping that at 2K, shopping that out, Take-Two, shopping your game out so that they can give you the funding to finish your game and get it out the door. And making those connections with other developers who could hey, we're having difficulty implementing this feature in our game, and another developer like if you're in a professional space, you need places where you can go and have those types of business and trade discussions. And that's where E3 really did get that, because, and I know some people say, well, you've got Jeff Keighley's Summer Jam thing. Jeff Keighley's Summer Jam thing is one fucking big commercial. Okay, it's not, to the point where it's like it's insulting to that point that it's just one big fucking commercial. And that's where I'm like, E3 could have, but E3, and like I said, ESA runs E3. And ESA for years made E3 into this big ass convention where they would sell convention space, and then basically it became about this bombastic, resource intensive event every year. And that's what they're used to doing. So they're probably having to retool how they approach things, because doing that is vastly different from putting on an online thing. Hopefully we'll still have the PC gaming show this year, which for years, since the PC gaming show started, has been online. So, you can have a show that shows games that are coming off for a platform, for a huge audience. Because, I'll tell you right now, there's more people playing, there's more PCs out there that people can potentially game on than console owners. Because I'm including people playing casual shit like Bejeweled and Candy Crush and shit like that. But those people are gamers. They're gaming. They're playing something. So that is, that's a larger audience than people playing on consoles and shit. The fact that E3 is canceled, kind of sad. It's not cool that a lot of their content is being cannibalized by Jeff Keighley's Game Jam shit. Because Jeff Keighley is, the man's a fucking vulture. He'd pimp his mother out in order to make a sale.
Wouldn't be surprised there.
Yeah, the only good thing about Jeff Keighley is that he single-handedly got Don Matrick fired from Xbox. We have a device for people like that. It's called the Xbox 360. So that's what you're telling me, that if people don't want always be online, they should stick with their 360. No, that's not what I'm saying. It's like, okay, all right, are you sure you want to? It's like, I wish I should record that and then overlay it and have positive. It was at that moment that Don knew that he had fucked up. Maybe have that Abraham Lincoln soundbite from The Whitest Kids You Know, where it's where they have Abraham Lincoln at the play saying, "Hey, what's it? Hey, why don't you just be quiet? Now you done fucked up. Now you done fucked up. You done fucked up. I wish somebody would just shut him up. Now you done fucked up." Like it was at that moment that he knew that he had fucked up. Because that's what Don Matrick did. And I remember watching it at Gamers at Large. I was like, Yeah, that man's not gonna have a job next
Not for much
month.
longer.
No, I said next month he's not gonna have a job, and within 2 weeks he was gone. I was like, yeah, because yeah, like he opened his mouth, stepped, he opened, he took his foot, stuck it deep in a deep pile of freshly laid dog doo doo, and then stuck that foot into his mouth. You know, people say foot and mouth. Yes, the foot was in his mouth, but it was covered in dog shit before it went in there. And he did it on national TV. He did it on a national broadcast, which is what made it worse. And that became like I think Don Matrick. Well, not just Don Matrick, but Don Matrick and Xbox One's like just doubling down on always online for the first year. Fucked that console up, and Microsoft never came back from it. Never came back from it. Still haven't come back from it. You know, and you know, Jeff Keighley was a part of that, a part of throwing them down those steps. And throwing them down the steps from the top of the stairs, out the door, into the street, and then taking a bus and run them over a few times with it. And then driving off, like driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah.
But so E3 2022 is canceled. They say they'll come back next year. I hope they do. Just because you can't have everything be monopolized by one event. You just can't.
Yeah, no, because Gamescom and Tokyo Game Show definitely don't stand the chance.
No, Gamescom, Tokyo Game Show is great for stuff in Japan because Japan's home market is big enough that, and there's so much stuff, like more stuff is being localized, but there's a lot of stuff that isn't localized. That still makes sense. Gamescom makes sense because Gamescom is more for developers. You know, it's that trade show just for the developers. As Steve Ballmer said, developers, like he was having a stroke on stage. developers. Ah!
Well, myself, might be a bit of a controversial take here. I sort of saw E3 dying a slow death as of 2012 when the first direct came on, and I just thought, oh yeah, this is going to be the standard. We're going to go ahead and begin to distance the consumers from the presentations because the whole trade show aspect is starting to lose interest with more contemporary gamers.
Yeah.
Last year's E3, I found the presentation, since it was an online event last year, about 4 days of different streams, and I was pretty let down by it personally, or it was probably the year before that, I can't recall. But
No, it's last year's.
okay.
Yeah.
So this year, I quite honestly I saw it coming. I'm in a total agreement about Summer Games Fest. That whole thing just seems like it just seems so hokey, so.
It's a commercial. It's one
Yep.
big fucking commercial with Jeff Keighley orchestrating it all. Yeah, I can see that. Like I can see that when the first Nintendo Direct came, I'm like, why aren't other people doing this instead of just doing all this bombastic bullshit? But I don't think that means that E3 needs to go. I mean, I said this back then. E3 needed to start making their shit be online too.
Modernizing.
Yeah, they should have been modernizing it and making it be online. Like maybe have a smaller event, maybe have a smaller thing for indies, and then have the bigger stuff be for you know, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, like the bigger stuff where they could have their streams. Like the Nintendo Treehouse Live was great.
Oh yeah.
And so much so that Microsoft finally stole that last year for their E3, which was a smart move because having the developers come on and talk about their games and explain what's going on is far more interesting than having some paid head
or stand-in gamer actors.
Yeah, fake gamers. Gamers come up there and be like, yeah, well, they wrote me a big fucking check to be here, so I'm going to pretend like I'm a gamer.
I think we actually saw that because when PlayStation used to do that PlayStation Experience thing, I remember their second year being one of the worst exhibits in all of trade show history, man, because it was nothing but a long dialogue with no games at all.
Yeah, and they got away with it because Microsoft was fucking up so bad. See,
Goodness.
that was the tragedy of the 8th gen, was that the Wii U and Microsoft weren't really giving great competition, and because they weren't giving great competition, Sony got a run, and people just gave them an excuse for their bullshit. Because let's keep it real, okay? A lot of the shit Sony did during the 8th gen with their console was bullshit. Okay, like the same thing right now is kind of happening to an extent with Nintendo and the Switch. There's some shit on the Switch where it's like, this could be better, but because the Switch is, selling very well, and like basically at this point Sony and Microsoft aren't really, I don't think they're ever going to catch up, not even come close. People are just kind of letting a lot of shit slide because they're enjoying playing on their Switch, even though some of the things Nintendo's doing with the Switch is problematic.
I can co-sign that statement. I say shamelessly, but go on.
So it's I mean, I guess it's one of those things where winners can get away with anything. Like if you're an A student, because I've seen this. If you're an A students can get away. When I was an A student, like this is how bad being an A student is if you're in the right situation. When I was an A student in high school, like here's how much privilege A students got in my school. If you had A's for the semester, you could ignore certain homework assignments. You got to eat off of campus, have lunch off of campus. You could choose your study halls. Like basically, my senior year, my study halls were in such a way. I set up my study hall so that my senior and junior year, I had a 95, between a 95 and a 90 average on average, like every semester. And basically, the way I set up my study hall was in my junior year. My study hall basically was before lunch, so I basically had like an hour and 20-minute lunch. and my senior year, it was after lunch. Plus, I had another study hall. Like my last period class was another study hall. So basically, sometimes I'd leave school early. I'm like, fuck it, I don't. Like I'd be like, yeah, I mean, I have a car. Like, why the fuck do I have to? It's study hall. Come on, I don't have to be here. Can I just go home, please? So, like when you're doing well, you get away with a lot of murder. Like I remember, like if you had an A in a class, not 100, but an A, you didn't have to. Sometimes for some of the classes, you could skip the final exam, the midterm and the final exam. Because you showed you have a mastery of the material, so why the fuck should you have to take a 3-hour long exam? So, like, what I'm saying is that, like, if you're a winner, you can get away with a lot of stuff that other people would be called out on. Now, I'm not saying that that's a good or bad thing. That's just the nature of how the systems are set up. And like I said, we've seen this. I can't sit there and talk shit about Sony charging for their online in the 8th gen, and then not say a fucking word when Nintendo did it.
That's true. I definitely won't just go ahead and be an obvious fanboy in that case. The comparisons are absolutely valid.
I can't be like, well, Sony has online DRM for their games. And then Nintendo does it and like, well, I'm not going to say nothing because I like Nintendo. No. Okay? It's just as outrageous. It's just the difference is that Nintendo isn't screwing you as badly. But, it's, that's like saying, hey, they only stabbed me a little bit versus sticking the whole knife in. It's like, you still stabbed me. I'm still bleeding. Shit. Yeah. But my point is this, is that, I think people gave Sony a lot of latitude in the 8th gen. And, I think that it was not, it wasn't a cool thing, like how they just got away with bloody murder for a lot of shit. Like, we're not going to have online DRM. PS4 totally has online DRM. And Xbox had to basically walk back a whole bunch of their shit. And Sony was doing this exact same damn thing.
Oh yeah, charging for name changes, insanity.
You know, like I can't sit there and be like Sony. I am not buying all these fucking remasters of shit that came out last gen. Now Nintendo's doing it. I can't just be. Well, I can't say nothing because I like my Switch. No, it's fucked up on there too. Now I'm glad. I bought one remaster on my Switch.
Oh yeah.
One, and that was Fire Emblem Cross Shin Megami Tensei.
Oh, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, but your name's better.
Yeah. Or as I call it, Persona Emblem.
Ah,
Persona Emblem. And the reason I bought Persona Emblem is because I thought it was going to come with the DLC that we missed that had some of the more risque
nope.
costumes for some of the starlets. We did not. But, you know, I wanted to support that game because it didn't sell that well on the Wii U, even though I had it on the Wii U as well. But that's the only game I double dipped on. Like the other ones are like, hey, you want to buy Mario Kart 8? Fuck you, no.
Oh yeah, no.
Hey,
For me, since I missed most of the 7th gen, especially for Nintendo, it was beneficial to me. But of course, it's very case by case.
yeah. Well, I've been a Nintendo fan my entire life. Like I have all of the home consoles. I even for the ones that were released only in Japan, I have the Japanese and the US versions as well.
Nice.
So like for me, like I love my Wii. I love my Wii U because it's backwards compatible with my Wii. Like I know this is going to be an unpopular opinion. I like the Wii U more than I like the Switch.
yeah,
Hey, fair is fair.
not surprised.
I I like the console nature of the Wii U versus like for me, like if I finally made peace with the Switch if I consider it to be a 3DS successor that I can attach to my TV. So I'm not looking at a little tiny screen. If I can get past that, the Switch doesn't annoy me, but that's the only way I could make it work for me. I know everyone's different. A lot of people love the console.
Right.
I'm enjoying Kirby and the Forgotten Land on my
Good to
on
hear.
my Switch. It's a good game. The only downside is they don't have as many copy abilities as I would like. They have like 15. Initially 12, but then you can unlock. Yeah, it's kind of small, but I know it's in a 3D space, and like in a 3D space, they kind of have to build those levels to be like. Here's the irony of game development. In 2D space, despite the dimensional limitations, you have a lot of shit you can do in a 2D space. In a 3D space, even though the physical space is opened up, there's more limitations. It's weird.
It's pretty much why I prefer 2D fighters over a lot of these anime arena brawlers.
Yeah. The only 3D brawler 3D fighting games that I like are well, no, actually no. I do like 3D. I like Tekken. I like Dead or Alive, and I like Soul Calibur.
Yeah. No, those are the most outstanding ones. I thought maybe I'd hear a Power Stone in there, but
oh no, what Power Stone's more like a 3D Smash Brothers, or I should say,
Power Stone hasn't been around for a while.
Power Stone is more Smash Brother is the Smash Brothers that Smash Brothers ripped off. Except instead of generic random characters in Power Stone, it's Nintendo characters beating the shit out of each other.
Right.
So, you know, but yeah, I mean, I like 3D fighters when they're enjoyable and fun and don't take themselves too seriously, which is why Power Stone, Smash Brothers, except for Smash, like the last two Smash games, like Smash on the Wii U and Smash on the Switch, those games take themselves way too seriously and cater to the competitive crowd too much for me. They're like Melee on steroids in some ways, which like. Melee was great for the time, but it moved forward, and I don't know why. It's like for some reason Smash is stuck catering to competitive people instead of trying to make a more casual experience.
As a guy who plays fighting games off and on, the heavier incorporation of esports into the general gameplay and DLC releases, or pretty much just the entire development of the game, it was the worst thing to happen for me personally. I generally do not like mixed in with the esports community.
Yeah, because they're dicks. I mean, actually, no, I take that back. They like for people who play games competitively, they can't just sit down and just play a game and enjoy it. It always has to be keeping score, and I'm gonna beat you, and I need to do
No.
this.
Or in a sense, no fun allowed.
Yeah, you can't have fun. It's always going to be Omega format for the arenas, no items, and I'm like, that's fine if we're playing competitively, but I just want to, and like that philosophy permeated. Like you no longer had the awesome like I liked Subspace Emissary in Brawl. I liked the like giving you this lengthy kind of epic beat 'em up 2D beat 'em up where you could basically recruit characters and switch them around and have stickers to customize the character the way you wanted. And it was just kind of went away. Like it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. Because with every iteration after that, it just got shittier. I mean, the multiplayer got better. The online got more stable, but like the single player got shittier with each iteration. How's it going, Kirby Lover?
Hey, it's going good.
All right,
How you doing?
That's good. So anyway, I think we've belabored E3 2022 enough.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's been canceled. Hopefully it'll come back next year, and because
I don't know.
I mean, the only reason I want it to come back is because I don't want, like, there needs to be competition. There needs to be, like it's not good when there's only one place where you can get your news, you know?
Yeah, why try harder when no one's gonna oppose you?
Yeah. Like if you have any company that has a run during a time and there's no competition, you get the company that has the run gets lazy and stops innovating. Unfortunately.
Final Fantasy cough.
Yeah, Final Fantasy, Sony during the 8th gen.
Or since it's our next topic, Pokemon.
Yeah, Pokemon. So I've been playing Coromon, and I gotta tell you, Coromon is the best damn Pokemon game I've played in 15 years.
Whoa.
That's right.
Never heard that.
That's what I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, Coromon is if Pokemon was run better, what you would get from Pokemon if Pokemon was run better.
Okay,
Yeah.
because myself, the last Pokemon game I played was maybe 8 years ago, and biggest thing it's just that I just kind of kept feeling I was getting the same dish with a couple extra garnishes, just not different enough, and I just had to end up letting it go.
From Pokemon, well, the thing for Pokemon for me was just that they don't update the formula. They don't do anything. I'm not saying that everything has to be thrown out, but I mean, like, wouldn't it be cool to play a Pokemon game that instead of you traveling like, okay, you leave your house for some reason, some random 10-year-old kid's being kicked out of the house and told instead of going to school, going to college, doing something, go out there and catch wild animals and make them fight each other. That's just kind of
What's Pokemon?
Yeah, well, that's Pokemon, I know, but the thing is, Pokemon's been using that formula for almost 30 years now. And it, like, at a certain point, you have to update or at least do a spin-off, do something different. And I thought it would be cool. Like, it would be cool to play a Pokemon where, what if it was set in a city? Like a huge city that was more detailed, had more, instead of you going to these little towns that have like 3 or 4 houses, oh, this is a city. It's only got like 5 buildings.
Oh, you mean like the city in behind the first bridge in Pokemon Black and White?
No, I'm just mean in general. That's been their design.
Oh,
this is a city, and it's like, right. This is
the exception.
Well, this is like a lot of open world games. Like you play Skyrim, and they're like, this is the capital city of the land. There's like 8 houses and 15 people live here. This is not a city. and that's basically how it feels with Pokemon. They're like, this is a city. It's like, hold on.
Not here, like actually in black and white when they did incorporate a city, it's really just one big hallway with a background of skyscrapers.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't it be cool to play a Pokemon game that maybe had one huge city that had a lot of depth and population density, and like you had like uptown, downtown, the docks, the west side, the suburbs. Maybe like a seedy underbelly, and the game basically like you can play a traditional Pokemon game in the city, going to different gyms that are in the city in order to get your 8 badges, fight your way up to the league that's at the top of the city, or you can have a completely different starting class for your character, and like you're someone who wants to start their own Pokemon gym. And then it's like, okay, that can either flip one of two ways. Cool. You can either open up a sanctioned gym and do it the right way, or you can go undercover and like be like a dirty, like illegal gym with like unsanctioned fights and stuff like that. Or you could become a Pokemon detective and like, capture, like people are doing the shady stuff. You can capture the That'd be cool.
That sounds very Pokemon meets paper and pen RPG. I like that.
Yeah, but no, we're just going to keep on. Oh, you can choose one of 3 starters. And go around, and you have to save the world from evil Team Z, and yay!
The other half of the game is post game.
If you're lucky, because if it's a remake of an old game, the post game is going to be worse than the old one. Like the definitive version of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire is Emerald on the Game Boy Advanced.
Well, I guess kind of.
Because all that extra content, it doesn't exist on the re-releases.
Oh, God.
Well, they left out the Battle Frontier, I felt. But like,
I liked the Battle Frontier because
I loved it.
The cool thing about
it should have been in there.
Yeah, the cool thing about the Battle Frontier is that you got to take the skills that you learned playing the main game and then test them against harder opponents.
You had to think.
Yeah, or even worse, they like some Pokemon games, they got rid of the battle tracker that basically let you rematch old trainers. They got rid of it.
Don't you mean the Versus Seeker?
Yeah, I forgot the name of it, but you know what I'm saying. Like the thing where you're like, okay, like I came back and I can fight stronger versions of these trainers. They got rid of it in some of the later games.
And then you're just in an empty world full of dummies.
Yeah. Pokemon is lazy. It's a lazy franchise. It's lazy.
Ooh, you want to hear my idea?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I was thinking instead of playing as some kid, well, I mean, I guess in my world, you have like 2 versions, young version and old version, right? And I was thinking in the old version, you play as an old retired man who like won a tournament way back when, and then he decides and then some of his Pokemon get stolen by a team to do some sacrifices or something, and he goes after them and finds out like, oh, there's something much bigger.
That'd be cool.
Then, I mean, like I say, they need to have gyms be like open too. I mean, it's like go to any gym and. Okay, that might not work.
No, that actually, if you workshop that idea and fleshed it out, like if you could choose to be the adult versions of red, blue, green,
and
silver, gold, crystal. If you could be the retired, like we've accomplished everything. We've been the champions. Like we're living our lives, and someone stole some of their Pokemon, and now you can choose which character you want to be, and you can go chase those people down. It's like, like that'd be awesome. Like all these hot shot, black and white and sun and moon people who think they're all badass, and then like you get like these old powerhouses come through the thing. It's like, hey, this is my Charizard that I've had for years. Kick their asses.
Okay, so I still have ideas. So anyways, you also conquer gyms, and you have this and you have this friend who is more energetic, even though he is the same age as you, and the old guy has dialogue too, like the guy you control. But I'm thinking like, what happens is you beat the team, you get 8 badges, and then you go to a tournament, and then at the final round you face your opponent who's in young version.
So
And
like a
with the young
protagonist from a later game?
No. I'm thinking this takes place in the same time frame.
So there's like some time skipping going on.
No time skipping. Just the same time the same timeline.
Okay.
Because while that's going on, in young version, there's a guy on the other side.
Oh, okay.
Who's young, but his journey is more about making friends, but also like being his rivals a lot. And
so it's the more traditional Pokemon story.
More traditional. And then at his end, when he goes to the tournament, he faces the old guy at the end. You have a few encounters with the evil team, but you don't really do much about it.
Well, maybe that could be the post game. Like the post game could be no matter who wins or who loses. The post game is you going after the evil team and like
I guess you could
disrupting their plan. Well, I mean, so many Pokemon games haven't had a post game, or it's like, oh, it's just the online multiplayer that's the post game.
Okay, that's true. Well, yeah, I think the best thing is like there should be like plenty of battle facilities that make it fun and unique as a post game.
I agree. That sounds cool. That sounds like you need
me to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
No, I just want to say that sounds like you probably need to workshop that idea with the Pokemon Company, because that sounds much better than this crap we've been getting from them for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. Anything sounds better than what we've been getting.
Yeah, I mean, I think eventually I really want to be a story writer for a video game, but I don't know if I'd be good at it. I mean, it's more fun thinking of ideas than like really implementing them.
No, you should write your ideas down and write your ideas down and then like share them with people who share a similar interest or in that field and see if you can, because the thing is, a lot of games have crappy stories and they could be so much better. They could be so much better, and that sounds better. Like your idea, even if it's not in a Pokemon game, if someone made a Pokemon-esque style game that took your ideas, that would be better than some of the stories we've had, which are kind of like underwhelming at best. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, have you played any Pokemon fan games? Like
I have.
Some of them are dark, but like
Pokemon Uranium.
Oh yeah, I beat that game.
That game is great.
I agree. It did things right. I didn't like a few of the glitches, but but it didn't have too many glitches. So
yeah, you play that game and you're like, wow, if only the Pokemon Company would actually, do something different.
They shut it down.
The one time they scratched the surface on something that piqued my interest, at least that deeply, was during the 5th and 6th gens when they were coming out with those GameCube Coliseum and those DS Ranger games at the time.
Oh yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And those games were great.
Yeah, then they just kind of put them in the closet, just left them there. They're just quiet.
They were like, this didn't sell gangbusters. It's a new IP. Come on, man. You can't expect a new IP to sell as well.
Well, I love the Mystery Dungeon games.
I like
more.
Yeah, I like the Mystery Dungeon games too. I'll admit to that. I did. But it's anyway. But yeah,
the House Coromon, yeah.
It's great. It like if you ever played Pokemon and you're like, man, I wish Pokemon was actually enjoyable and changed up the formula and yet still kept the spirit of Pokemon. Coromon.
Yeah. I think Pokemon Uranium was as good of a fan game as Bug Fables was to a Paper Mario game.
I think the Paper Mario games have been kind of underwhelming as of late.
That's partially the biggest reason why I haven't gotten into them, because I don't want to set myself up for that disappointment.
Well, the thing is like I think I took the biggest punch because the first Paper Mario game I played after my favorite was Sticker Star. No. Was Super Paper Mario, and Super Paper Mario was kind of like all the RPG elements were almost stripped completely out of it, but it told a really good story, and I'll give it credit for that.
I liked it.
Yeah, like I said, I like the RPG aspects in the Paper Mario series. Like, I like leveling up my characters. I like figuring out what badges to equip in order to change like how damage is done. Like, I like the minutia of RPGs. I like getting into the nitty gritty of how to like tweak my party in order to get the best results. And I know Paper Mario is more of a casual series. It's supposed to be to get people into RPGs, not supposed to be like, you know, like more hardcore. I think to me, the pinnacle of the series in terms of like balancing that RPG minutia with still being approachable to me was Thousand Year Door. I think Super Paper Mario is Super Paper Mario had the darkest story in the franchise. I mean, dark as hell. It's like, oh, this is Paper Mario. This is kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
If you can get past that, it's a good game. It is a very good game. It's just like, it's kind of a departure from what we were used to. Then they did Sticker Star on the DS, and Sticker Star is, oh god, that game is terrible.
It's atrocious trash that ruined the entire series.
Is that when Intelligent System took over?
Intelligence System was always there. They've always been in control of it. It's just Sticker Star is when the series was taken over by the jackass who's running it now, and that's why it's just gotten like everything after Sticker Star hasn't been as good as Thousand Year Door or Super Paper Mario in terms of story or gameplay. Because I would say that Thousand Year Door's story is very paint by numbers. But the cool thing I like about Thousand Year Door is that Bowser isn't the primary villain, which I love because. For me, I don't think Paper Mario games. I don't think Bowser should be the main villain for a Paper Mario game. It's lazy writing. But like Thousand Year Door had the better gameplay in my opinion, but Super Paper Mario had the better story. Sticker Star has neither of those. Sticker Star is like, oh, you're too stupid to know how to play an RPG. Well, here you go. There's Sticker Star. It's for people who are too stupid to know how to play an RPG.
I keep hearing from people that they just doubled down on the whole. I know the whole paper aspect of Mario wasn't really just more. It was more of an aesthetic hook, but I think they just ended up getting too meta with it with those feature entries on the 3DS.
No, the problem with Sticker Star was that Sticker Star, like before Sticker Star, you had Super Paper Mario didn't really have equipment, but Sticker Star. Here's the problem with Sticker Star. Sticker Stars didn't have an equipment system. What happened in Sticker Star was you would essentially get stickers. Those were your attacks. But once you used a sticker, it was gone. So essentially, if you were in a match and you didn't know how to defeat an enemy, like say a boss that had a specific, like you had to use a super sticker in order to defeat them, and you didn't use the super sticker or you didn't get it, okay? You didn't stickerize an item into a super sticker to do massive damage to the boss and actually defeat them. If you ran out of stickers during a fight, or you were in the Coliseum where you could fight really powerful enemies and get really great rewards, and you ran out of stickers, it was game over. You died. So stickers, like you use a sticker, like stickers, like the higher level sticker, the more you could use it over time, it would degrade and you couldn't use it anymore. And once your stickers were gone, it was over. So the game really didn't reward you for like going into the minutia.
Or getting into a battle.
It's kind of like Breath of the Wild, where there's a certain point in Breath of the Wild where you avoid combat because why should you waste your weapons? It's like I have
trying to get better weapons, but that's about it.
Yeah, but there's a certain point in the game where like you have the best shit that you're gonna get in the game. So why should you fight and waste your weapons? There's a plateau point in Paper Mario.
Fun, actually.
Yeah, but even then, like even for the combat, there's just a certain point where it's like I have Guardian weapons, I have Knight weapons. Guardian and Knight weapons and Barbarian weapons are like the three most powerful weapons in Breath of the Wild. So at that point, once you have whatever loadout you like to use to destroy enemies, once you have those and the Master Sword, it's like you have no incentive to fight anyone. Because you're saving your best weapons for when you fight your way into Hyrule Castle. Plus, there's really good stuff in Hyrule Castle. So it's like you have no incentive to fight normal enemies. It's like why should I fight you? Why should I fight you?
I was gonna say it's a bigger challenge to fight without any big weapons than just
No, it's the incentivation. The incentives to fight are lessened because you have the best stuff,
Yeah.
and you're saving it for when you get to the
I was
castle.
saying basically you have a better
No.
incentive to try to challenge yourself by fighting with the weakest of weapons.
Yeah, but then you're
Yeah.
like fights take so damn long, it's not even fun anymore. It's like,
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. That you're basically that you're basically trying to challenge yourself in order to get more out of it when you basically got everything that you need.
yeah. So I mean, that's kind of the principal flaw of Breath of the Wild, and that's also the same issue with well, Nintendo already made a battle royale game. It's called Splatoon. Um,
And Ninjala. I mean, that was Nintendo. My mistake.
no, Ninjala was EA, I think.
Something else.
And Nintendo did make a
No.
Souls game. It's called Breath of the Wild.
Oh,
Breath of the Wild is very, very much like a Souls game because you have a stamina meter that
Yep, there's certain overlap.
that incorporates how you can attack. Basically, you're given everything you need to beat the game after you get out of the tutorial area. The combat is kind of simplistic, but how you interact with enemies in the combat is not. So they basically have covered that. I mean, like I said, look, I like Breath of the. I mean, no, I like Breath of the Wild. I think it's overrated. Like I like the Paper Mario games, but I mean, you play like I played Origami King and Color Splash. And Color Splash was a step in the right direction. It was still a little too overly simplistic for what that series deserved. But Origami King, you can tell playing Origami King that someone in Intelligent Systems, like an internal team, started to make a successor to Thousand Year Door. Where it's like Thousand Year Door, the big thing in Thousand Year Door is that you're putting on a play in a traditional stage where the audience is involved and they can do stuff. And then the successor to that would be a stage in the round, which they have in Origami King. And then that fucking asshole who's been directing the series since Sticker Star came in and said, "We can't do that. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want." And that's why Origami King is the way it is. It's the reason why you really don't have party members. You really don't have. I mean, you have party members, but they're there for a short period of time, just in the area you're in.
yes.
It's the reason why they kept the item degradation mechanics. Except they did fix one thing. If you lose all of your stickers, you can use. You have like default weapons that you can use. But there's no leveling up in the game. The way you level up is by finding hearts, which increase your health, which invisibly also increases your base damage at certain points. Like it's like Color Splash is like Color Splash is 3 steps forward, 1 step back. It's like you could. There's a good game in there. There's some really good ideas in there. Like the opening of Color Splash is great. Like you going into the wispy woods and finding out, like, because if you played Super Mario World, they had the hills and the trees with eyes. You find out those are actually living creatures that talk. It's like, wow, that's a really interesting concept. Too bad after you leave Wispy Woods, it just goes downhill from there. It's kind of like, oh man, I thought this was going to be a great game. I wanted it to be good. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. There's entire gameplay mechanics that they don't really tell you about. Like even in the book, they don't really in the online, like that game is just a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. In my opinion, people are free to disagree. I mean, look, if you liked Origami King, I'm glad you liked it. But for me, it was just like there's some great ideas in here, and they just didn't quite go all the way.
No, that's the best position to take.
Right.
I understand. When I said I thought tables looked like Paper Mario, I was talking about the old ones. Like it had a great story, it had good leveling system, it had good.
Yeah. I agree. I think the original Paper Mario is great. It's a great starter RPG for people who aren't really into RPGs. Yeah. I think everything that it did, I think that it's great. It's like the problem with the original Paper Mario on the N64 is that if you compare it to other RPGs that came out in the 5th gen, it's like it's unique, but it's not like I wouldn't put it on the same on the same level as a Legend of Dragoon or Legaia or Legend of Legaia or Final Fantasy 9 or Jade Cocoon, Azure Dreams, Suikoden. But considering that the N64 only had like 5 RPGs, it's great. It's like that's kind of the problem with it's like if you compare it against all 5th gen RPGs, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine for what it is. If you compare it to a system that only had like 5-6 RPGs, it's great, And before someone says, "How could you say that, Mr. Red Fox?" I'm one of those people who got mad when all the RPGs left Nintendo during the 4th gen and went over to during the 5th gen and went over to Sony. I did not have a PlayStation, so I was one of those people who has all. I'm one of those people who has all those N64 RPGs, played and beat all of them, and I can tell you right now, Paper Mario for the N64. If you look at it from the from the viewpoint of someone who just has an N64, is great. If you look at it as someone who has like the full breadth to play like games that were on the PS1 or the Saturn, it's okay. It's not terrible. It's just like there's better RPGs on other systems. But if all you had was an N64, it's great. It's like this is all I had. It's kind of like if you were one of those kids whose parents bought you an NES, and then the Super Nintendo came out, and you couldn't get a Super Nintendo or a Sega Genesis, and all you had was an NES. Like there was still, and like let's say someone got Final Fantasy 2 on the SNES, and you were still rocking Final Fantasy 1. Like Final Fantasy 1, if that's all you have, is great. But Final Fantasy 2 on the SNES is a better game. It's like, and that's kind of like the issue with Final Fantasy, with the original Paper Mario. Now, Thousand Year Door, everything that the original Paper Mario did very well. Thousand Year Door says like people at Intelligent Systems were like, we can do better. And they pushed it even further. Like they made the companion characters even better. Instead of like 1 hit, or if you have a badge, 2 hits, and they're out of the fight for a little bit and then they come back. Like they actually have their own health bars and their own which is awesome. The scenarios that you fight through are more interesting than by and large the scenarios are more interesting in Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Yeah, basically. Unfortunately, when the new guy came in, the new director of Paper Mario, he basically has turned the franchise into Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, where it's like, and Final Fantasy Mystic Quest has some really cool ideas, but it comes across as we think our audience is too damn stupid to know how to play a traditional Paper Mario game.
Well, I got past the prelude when I was a kid. Like, how can it be that stupid?
No, I'm just saying that's what it comes across as. They basically think that the audience, like it's kind of like the issue that's been going on with a lot of RPGs for the last basically for the last like 10 years when Skyrim came out, is that basically everyone thinks that we have to dumb down our games to the point where they reach the lowest common denominator, where anyone can pick it up and play it. And I don't have that aesthetic, because I think that like the fun of an RPG is putting in the time to learn how to play it well, so that when you finally get over that curve and you finally realize how the gameplay systems work and you start to master it, you have that sense of accomplishment where it's like, wow, I didn't understand how this system works. Like playing the original Xenoblade Chronicles and realizing that you can stagger enemies and then trip them and daze them and throw them in the air.
Luck, baby.
Like that, like figuring out how to use that and how to optimize your builds in order to basically just turn every enemy into your bitch, basically. That's what makes a game fun, is figuring out RPG fun, is figuring out the gameplay systems and how to game the system, as it were, in order to optimize your characters. And when that's taken away, like games are like, this is not very fun at all. At least to me, for RPGs. But that's neither here nor there. Let's move on to. But yeah, Coromon is great. I advise you guys get it. It was supposed to come out Thursday, for March 31st for the Switch, but apparently some shit jumped off and. Actually, apparently the cross play. Because you're supposed to be able to play the online multiplayer combat, like in the multiplayer zones. Supposed to be able to play that against people who are playing it on PC and other platforms. And apparently they couldn't get that working on the Switch, so it's been delayed.
I think it'd make a killing on the Switch. Usually these collect the mall JRPGs do.
Maybe. Has any Nintendo in-house developers made any RPG games? I mean, they bought Monolith Soft. That's a first-party studio, and all they do are RPGs, really.
Yeah.
Yo, guys, what's up?
How's it going, Kenoshi?
Hey. Yeah, sorry, I was late. I was out, and I got back later than I thought. So
That's okay, man. So I was gonna cover more Activision Blizzard BS, but frankly speaking, and this is coming from me, I'm tired of talking about him. I'll just say it like this: Bobby Kotick is getting away with his bullshit. Almost. That's all I'm gonna say about it.
Entertainment. It's sadly, this is the curse of the entertainment industry.
Yeah, this is the norm. Pieces of shit get away with it if they have enough money. Morbius.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the next topic. Morbius sucks. Literally.
Yeah.
The movie sucks, and so does Morbius.
Well, actually,
Well,
Morbius is one of those characters who's only interesting as in his relation to other Marvel characters. Like Morbius is interesting in the comics when Blade, the vampire bounty hunter, was hunting his ass down, or when Spider-Man kicked his ass in the comics. Like that's where Morbius is interesting. If you do a movie just about Morbius by himself, it's just kind of like, I don't really give a fuck about this character.
No,
I don't
he
care.
works better complimenting others, not really on his own.
Yeah. Like doing a movie just about Michael Moore, and I'm gonna let you on a little secret. Venom's the same way. I know a lot of people. I love Venom. Venom sucks except for his relationship to Spider-Man. Eddie Brock sucks except for his relation to Spider-Man. If you don't have that relationship, that antagonistic relationship, Venom's just like, okay. Symbiote suit. Okay, whatever.
He essentially would have to create a new character if you were going to make Venom interesting. I take it.
Well, that's what they did. And some people are like, oh, I love this. I'm like, I don't really
That's why a lot of these villain or just non-focus point character-led features should really be TV shows.
I mean, yeah, but they have Tom Hardy, and Tom Hardy's really expensive. So they were like, we have to, if you have Tom Hardy, we got to do something with him. I understand it, but those two Venom movies were trash. The first one was trash. The second one was trash.
I wasn't a fan either,
Weren't
sorry.
weren't they doing a Carnage movie?
No, the second movie is the Carnage movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
that wasn't good, huh?
They both were trash. They both were trash. You missed
How do you think a
nothing.
Venom movie should be done?
Me, I think if you're gonna do a Venom movie, like in a perfect world, Venom would, like Spider-Man, all those IP characters would be under Marvel's aegis
Banner.
and not under Sony, and so you could basically have it be like more like the comics, where Spider-Man gets the suit when he does the like you could do it like the comics, like Spider-Man does his Secret Wars. He messes up his suit and he just finds a random thing to get a new suit, the wrong thing instead of the right thing, and it turns out to be that symbiote suit. He comes back to Earth. The symbiote suit starts taking him over. He rips it off. It goes to Eddie Brock, who's a dick anyway. And now Eddie Brock knows everything that Spider-Man knew. So Eddie Brock knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And like the thing about Venom, and the thing about the symbiote is that every time it jumps from a host, it powers up that host. So
And makes them smarter in a sense.
well, it doesn't make them smarter, but it makes them more powerful. Like it makes their abilities, whatever abilities it has, are magnified. So the jump from Venom from Spider-Man to Eddie Brock makes Eddie Brock more powerful than Spider-Man. That's the thing. Like, Spider-Man's spidey senses don't work on Venom. Venom is stronger than Spider-Man. He's faster than Spider-Man. His webbing is stronger than Spider-Man. He basically, Venom is designed to be Spider-Man's weakness. He has no defense against Venom. And that's what makes...
But that's about it.
He had to discover that. So that's what makes Venom such an interesting villain, is that, like, it's his relation to Spider-Man. And they just took that away in the movie, so I'm like, I don't really care at this point. Like, I have no incentive to care about this character because he has no... Like, the relationship that you want to see, which is that fight between Venom and Spider-Man, isn't there.
And imagine the letdown when his appearance in No Way Home amounted to absolutely nil.
Yeah, I didn't stay for the after credit scene for No Way Home because I was like, No Way Home cemented it for me that Tom Holland is, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in the Marvel films, he is the most ineffective Spider-Man ever.
Yeah, the whole movie was stupid.
No.
I enjoyed watching it. I would enjoy watching
the whole movie
again, but I just thought the plot was dumb.
No. When I say ineffective, I mean, like, okay, Tobey Maguire is still like the most effective Spider-Man because he saved a whole bunch of people. He got Mary Jane. He didn't get his Aunt May killed. He got Uncle Ben killed, but that's a cornerstone of Spider-Man, is that he's going to get Uncle Ben killed. And in his universe, he never went with Gwen Stacy, so he didn't get Gwen Stacy killed. So he's doing pretty well for Spider-Man. He's like an 85%. Then you've got Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield is the second worst Spider-Man right now because, I mean, he got Gwen Stacy killed. He doesn't have Mary Jane. He got his Uncle Ben killed. And he's basically kind of like morose, emo, angry Spider-Man. Okay, cool. But Tom Holland, oh, poor Tom Holland. Not only did he get his Uncle Ben killed, he got his Aunt May. His Aunt May was killed. And all because of his own selfishness. He almost destroyed the world because...
She kind of, in fairness, she kind of egged him on to save him.
That is true. But who wanted to make the wish that caused all this? He did. Why? So that he could go to school with his friends. That was his thing. Because Matt Murdock got him off. Matt Murdock got him, like, all he had to do was go to another school. He wouldn't be with his friends. And he's like, I want everything. I want it all. I don't have to make any sacrifices because I'll use magic to get everything I want. And it's like, dude, you got your Aunt May killed. Do you know how bad of a Spider-Man you have to be to get your Aunt May killed? One of the best scenes in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is in Spider-Man 2, where Dr. Octopus figures out Peter Parker's secret identity and kidnaps his Aunt May, and that's still one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen in the Spider-Man film. Because you have Spider-Man fighting like he does in the comics. He's fighting Dr. Octopus, webbing down his tentacles, beating his ass. All the shit you see in the comics, he's doing in that movie. And it's like awesome. He stops the fucking train. Because he kidnapped his Aunt May. Like, listen, if you want to piss off Spider-Man, kidnap one of his loved ones. It's the reason why he's always trying to hide his identity. Because he's like, if they find out who I am, they're gonna go after my loved ones. Because I'm just Spider-Man. I don't have the resources of other heroes. You know, I can handle Brooklyn.
It's not Iron Man.
Well, they did that in No Way Home. But Spider-Man in the comics, he doesn't have all those resources. Spider-Man's happy when he got his little piece of shit car. Okay, yeah, I got my car. I can drive, and then he got repossessed when he lost his job and he had to move back in with Aunt May.
Yeah, no, just a normal New York guy living in tough New York economy.
He's doing the best he can with what he got. You know, that's Spider-Man.
Yeah,
you know,
that's one big reason. I always hated that a lot of Peter Parker stuff in MCU was inherited, handed to him, and really tied to the rest of every time I hear Stark technology, I'm just like, oh my god, can't people just have their own merits?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only cool thing I'll say about the Sony trilogy is that the new Sony trilogy with Tom Holland is that it turned out to be one big origin story, one big origin story to put Spider-Man to the circumstances where we know him as this broke. Living in a shitty apartment, except this is the worst Spider-Man ever because he got his Aunt May killed with his own selfish wish because he wanted to have it all.
They have another trilogy planned too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I hope they get someone else because Tom Holland's like, even though he's like 25, looks like he's like 18. He's like, even though he's starting to age up a little bit, he still looks like he's 18.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to see like one thing we haven't seen. We have not seen a Spider-Man in his 30s who has a handle on his abilities, fighting really tough enemies. And we won't get
in the comics.
What?
That happens in the comics.
Yeah, that happens in the comics. Like he was only in like the comics kind of followed his age, but when he first came out in the 60s, he was in high school. Then he went into college. Then he graduated and he worked for the Daily Bugle as a freelance photographer while being a superhero and dating, different women and shit. But he grew up and he got older and stuff happened to him. And it's only like the movies though, he's in high school, he's in college. I'm like, I want to see Spider-Man when he's got his shit together, fighting supervillains and shit. That's what I want to see. I want to see Tobey Maguire level Spider-Man, like in No Way Home, where he's like, look, I got my shit together. I like you, stupid motherfucker. I didn't get my Aunt May killed, you bitch. It's like I want to see that Spider-Man who's got his shit together and still doing shit. That's what I want to see. Like the middle-aged Spider-Man's like teaching high schoolers during the day, and at night he's saving the city. I want to see that Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
I want to see this.
I thought it was funny in that movie when Tobey Maguire stopped Tom Holland from killing Green Goblin, and the Green Goblin just took advantage of that.
Yeah, because remember, the only person Tobey Maguire really tried to kill in the only people that Tobey Maguire really tried to kill was in Spider-Man 3, where he tried to kill Sandman because he thought Sandman killed Uncle Ben, and he tried to kill Harry because that was when he had the black symbiote suit, and he was like, I'm tired. Like he's like, look, man, you made me lose that damn ring. You made me lose Aunt May's ring. You fucked up my relationship. Your ass has to die. It's the black symbiote suit. Spider-Man, when he's wearing the black symbiote suit, is like he doesn't pull his punches. In the comics, like you read the Spectacular Spider-Man, Spider-Man tries to kill all the Sinister Six. Like they attack him. They're like, we're gonna take you down. And he's wearing that black symbiote suit. He fucks up all the Sinister Six by himself. Almost kills the Vulture.
I was gonna say he basically stomps them.
Yeah, he does, because the black symbiote suit heightens his abilities. It also lowers his inhibitions to where he because Spider-Man always is subconsciously
he's always trying to be careful of what he does, right?
Well, he's always subconsciously controlling his power level, because if Spider-Man uses full power, like when he punches someone, he'd punch through their chest. They die. He'd be like, poof! Oh, I punched through your chest. Oh, that's terrible. So he's always subconsciously like controlling, holding back his power level. Whereas in the black symbiote suit, he ain't. Like when Spider-Man's wearing the black symbiote suit, if he comes incredibly close to killing a lot of people. But anyway, anything else anyone wants to say about Morbius sucking?
And not in the vampire way.
No, it sucks in a vampire way, and in just a general, just not a good movie.
Well, I made a pun earlier where I said it bites, but that's it.
It bites, it sucks, and not in a good way. It doesn't nibble and lick. It just bites and sucks in all the worst ways.
All these jokes just write themselves.
Yeah.
It's funny because I saw a few memes talking about how Jared Leto has made probably one of the worst DC performances and Marvel performances.
Yeah. For some reason, Jared Leto just cannot make a good comic book movie.
No.
I don't know.
That's weird.
Because he was a shitty Joker, and he was a shitty Michael Morbius.
Oh. At least for me.
Was bad in Joker in?
No, go ahead, Kenoshi, and then Kirby.
I was gonna say, at least for me, at least those first 30 Seconds to Mars albums were decent.
Okay, all right. I guess you'll give him that. Kirby?
Oh yeah, so what movie was the guy as Joker bad in?
Suicide Squad. The
Joker
extra.
was in Suicide
Yeah, he was in
Squad?
Suicide Squad. Not the James Gunn second Suicide Squad. The first one that had David Ayers, the writer, that had Joker had damage tattooed on his forehead. He had like tattoos. It was Juggalo Joker and the gold grill. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit?
Whoa.
Yeah, they took it all the way. That I think he even did a music video with Rick Ross.
Yeah, it did. And he's just like hanging around the set. And I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, who signed off on this? Who thought this was a good idea?
Somebody on shrooms, basically.
No, because this is when they were, because they wanted something that was desperately a different tone than Zack Snyder's films. And I'll give Suicide Squad that much. It is a different tone than Zack Snyder's films.
Yeah, that movie is absolute shit.
It is absolute shit. And we said earlier that Suicide Squad, that movie should have used, they already had a template to make a good Suicide Squad movie. Go on HBO Max, look at the animated films. They have Suicide Squad, Attack on Arkham. That's the template for the perfect Suicide Squad movie. Nah.
The one thing I will give that movie for, the one thing I did like in that movie was the kind of the relationship between Harley Quinn and Deadshot. But other than that, the movie was completely a waste of time.
Yeah, it was. And it devolved into the same bullshit that we see in every uninspired superhero movie uses this trope. At the end, the third act, there's some explosion in the sky. Some beam is going into the sky, and we have to stop something from happening while an explosion is going into the sky. Even Spider-Man No Way Home did that shit. It's lazy. It's lazy. It was fine.
I was about to say it's trope. It's a trope, but
it's become a trope. It's become a trope. And it started with Avengers, because they did that in Avengers. Avengers, the Chitauri are invading. There's an explosion in the sky.
Even earlier than that, episode 1 of the prequels did that.
Episode 1 of the Star Wars?
Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah, but it makes sense for shit to be exploding in the sky, because in episode 1, there was a space battle going on. It made sense. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense. It's like, can't we have something that's more grounded? Can there be other things? That's why I like Civil War. That's why Civil War is a better film. Because Civil War
is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Civil War is probably my favorite Marvel film.
Yeah, Civil War is great. I love Civil War. Civil War is great because Civil War has, for one thing, Tony Stark gets the ass whooping he should have gotten for years. It's like, this is for creating all these fucking villains in the damn universe.
Wait, what did he do?
Ultron, he pretty much had Ironmonger and Whiplash have personal vendettas. Extremists pretty much exist because of him.
Yeah, I mean, Stark Industries basically gave weapons to the highest seller, which wound up in the hands of terrorists. And Tony Stark didn't care as long as he had his money, and he was creating the latest, greatest weapon technology.
Yeah.
While
they create Iron Man, it did mean that he kind of
yeah, that's in the first movie. That's in the first movie. In the second movie, at the stingers for the first movie is that he tells the world that he's Iron Man. He puts a huge target on his chest. Then in the second movie, he freaking taunts everyone to come after him because he's Iron Man, creating Ironmonger and Justin Hammer. Okay, giving them
and Mysterio by extent.
But that was added later. I'm going with the original chronology before they added it later. Then the third movie, he creates Extremis, the guy Seth Killian, who is Extremis. I forget the incredible energy man. They call him the Mandarin in that movie, but he's not really the Mandarin. Wen Wu is the Mandarin.
Right.
That motherfucker in Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. That's the like. Did anyone see that movie?
Oh, I loved it.
I've never seen it.
Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings.
Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings had the Mandarin, and they killed one of the. Marvel keeps on killing their best villains because that was like, now that motherfucker's the Mandarin. He was scary as shit. There was
When did
points in that movie where I was like, Tony Long is scaring the shit out of me, and I love
Oh,
it.
yeah.
when did
Like,
that movie come out?
last year
Last
around
year?
October, September or something.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yep,
Might
like there's
check
that
it
one
out.
scene where he says, "I'm not afraid of you." Yes, you are, and I was like, "Oh,
You should be afraid. There's a scene in Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings where he's this little kid, and because what happened is that like the Mandarin has these 10 rings, which they retconned his 10 rings, but they basically give him the same sets of powers. They make him immortal. They make him really fucking powerful. He can manipulate them in order to do insane shit. He can fly. He can just anyway. He wants to get into this mystical land because it's the last place he hasn't conquered because he's a warlord. And essentially, like he winds up falling in love with this lady who is she's a guardian of that realm, and she gives up her powers and comes to the real world because they fall in love. And he puts up his rings. He's like, look, I'm gonna live. Like his wife's like, look, you can leave that behind. Well, while he's out taking care of some side business, some dudes come because he used to be a dude who not to be fucked with, and they're like, well, you know, he in the past he attacked our people, so that blood needs to pay back blood. And she tells her son to go inside, and she fights these dudes off, and she beats a lot of them, but she doesn't have her powers anymore, and she dies.
Yeah.
And he comes home, and he's like,
oh man.
God.
And he sees them at their house, whoops them all in front of his son.
Oh yeah. He's like, son, you know, like you need to come with me. And he takes his son and he gets his rings, and he's like, you know, like there's a rule: blood needs to pay for blood. He goes and he goes to where these people are who beat his wife to death.
And he stomps them.
He kills them. There's one dude. He's like, now where's your boss? He's like, because he's working his way up the chain to the people who made the command. He's like, where's your boss? And this dude's all fucked up. He's like, but he might make it if he gets to a hospital. And he looks at his son, and you see him use his energy blast on this guy point blank range. His dude's like, well, that dude's dead. And he's looking at his son. His son's looking at him. He's like, well, blood needs to call back blood. So he trains his son to be an assassin. And his son goes and he kills that guy who ordered his mom to be murdered. So Shang-Chi is that's the Mandarin. And they fucking kill him in the movie. They kill one of the best villains they've ever had.
Ceremoniously, too. He just has his soul ripped out like a
Yeah,
sneak attack.
I mean, I know they were like, we can't afford to get Tony Leung again. I'm like, but this is one of the best villains you guys have ever had. Like, really? I'm going to keep it real. And I know people will say, you're just saying that. The Mandarin, the Marvel Cinematic Universe's version of the Mandarin was way more compelling than Killmonger. Way more interesting than Killmonger.
That is a controversial take.
Because Eric Killmonger, at the end of the day, is just a piece of shit.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I'm gonna do what I need to do in order to give power to disenchanted black people. But what about tradition? Fuck tradition. It's like, okay, you know, like here's the thing. Okay, Eric Killmonger has zero honor. He'll do whatever it takes in order to get ahead, and that makes him a less like. Even though what he's fighting for has value, because there is a lot of racial disparity in the world, and you know, black people were traditionally exploited and stuff like that. Yeah. The man has no honor, so it's like I can't really get behind him. Whereas Wenwu, the Mandarin, is like, look, I've been around a long time. I've seen a lot of shit. I've done fucked up shit, but there's rules to this game. You know, there's rules to this game, and he tries to, you know, like there's a point in
thread the needle, right?
No, there's rules to the game. There's certain shit you do and don't do. And there's a point in Shang-Chi where there's a point in the movie where he's like, look, I was going to let all this shit go. I put up my rings. I was going to live a peaceful life, grow old, be happy.
All you just had to do was not mess with my life.
If you had left me the fuck alone, I would have left y'all alone. But you did this. You did this. You brought this on yourselves. He did some Genghis Khan shit where he's like, you know, like, you brought this on yourselves. If you hadn't fucked with me, you wouldn't be destroyed. But you did this. And like Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, great Marvel movie. Shang-Chi, their version of the Mandarin, of the real Mandarin, is so much better than that bullshit we got in that third Iron Man movie with Trevor Slattery. Fuck off.
Yeah, and I'm glad they ended up having fun with just how bad that one was by bringing bring the actor Ben Kingsley back just to make fun of him.
Yeah,
And of course, the Mandarin in that movie is so much more fun because you see some really nice scenes with him being an actual dad, and
yeah.
just made his loss all the more painful.
Cause he was ready to let it go, and they brought it on themselves. It's like if y'all they just look. Sometimes there's a saying. Sometimes you get the dog, and sometimes the dog gets. Sometimes you get the dog, and sometimes the dog gets you. If they had left bygones be bygones, everything would have been okay.
You be safe.
But no, we have to. It's
They
like
just have
no.
They have
Look,
to trigger the trap.
you brought this on yourself because I'm a Marvel Comics fan. Okay, I know that the Mandarin for a long time was Iron Man's principal villain, and he was one of the few villains that Iron Man's never defeated.
That's when Marvel was like afraid to use magic. Oh, Iron Man 3 was a.
It was terrible.
Yeah, it was
It was
shit.
terrible. It was shit.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, no, it was
Pretty
great.
much.
It was
I
terrible.
find
Yeah,
Doctor
it was
Strange.
so bad.
I find Doctor Strange a better Iron Man sequel than both of the Iron Man sequels.
Yeah. The sad thing, I mean, the first Iron Man is good. The second Iron Man is okay, but that third Iron
Nah,
Man,
it's trash.
that third Iron Man is like an old person that has diarrhea who was stuck in a bed and couldn't
Iron
get
Man,
out.
Iron Man 2 and 3 was trash. Although there was a particular scene I really did like in the third Iron Man. He kind of had to MacGyver himself out of a situation.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't like
even
that.
then, it was just like
All of that.
my problem. Like Iron Man 2 is not great, but Iron Man 2 does have some cool things in it. Iron Man 3 is just insufferable. It's just fucking insufferable. Because they were so afraid. Oh, we can't have the Mandarin because that'll make China angry. And then Spider-Man No Way Home comes out, and it wasn't even in China. It made like $1 billion without going to China. Fuck China. Okay.
They went the same way where Marvel had this big problem where the villains had to be just dark mirrored versions of our hero because it was Iron Men again for the final battle.
Yeah.
Maybe Hollywood. Maybe just make compelling movies, and you don't have to worry about China.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
If people go watch the shit in America, then China's just great. It's like if it comes out in China, we make more money. If it doesn't, well, fuck it. We made our money. Like
people want to watch movies. They don't want to watch shitty movies.
Exactly. It's like, oh, we can't have the Ancient One be an old Tibetan monk because
Weirdest casting ever, man.
We would have to admit that Tibet has been an independent part. It has not been a part of China for years. Like we'd have to admit that, and China doesn't like that. Fuck China. Okay.
Yeah, no, I remember in Age of Ultron, they had this really awkward random characters thrown in because I believe their actors were just big in China, because this was when they were really catering to them, putting Chinese product placement, Chinese actors in prominent roles. I was like, oh god, it's so awkward.
Yeah. And before someone says you're anti-Chinese sentiment, look, Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings is now one of my top 3 of Marvel films. And I'll tell you right now, like Tony Leung is a Chinese Hong Kong actor. I love his films. He's really good. So it's not that I don't like Chinese actors or actresses. I just think that us making our movies to cater to that audience is disingenuous and pandering.
Yeah.
Because Japan don't do that shit for us. Like, if you want to watch, like, Yojimbo or Senbei Sanjuro or Rashomon or any Akira Kurosawa samurai film, that if you're a film student are, like, considered some of the best, like really well-made films, you gotta just fucking read subtitles.
Yeah.
They aren't like, oh, we have to dub this in English. No.
Yeah, no, with me personally, I can watch dubbed animation, no problem, but dubbed live action stuff just
it looks bad.
It doesn't sound right. Yeah,
Godzilla is probably the only thing I could do it for, but even then, nowadays, I wouldn't mind watching.
Yeah. Well, that's all we had when we were kids was dubbed Godzilla. Dubbed Godzilla. That's all we had when we were kids. But now that I'm an adult, and I hate to say this, but when they had the 60th anniversary of Godzilla that was released in Blu-ray, I bought it even though I had the 50th anniversary on HD DVD. I bought it for the extra stuff and digitized it, and it's all Japanese subtitles with English subs. I mean, it's Japanese with English subs, and that's how I prefer my Godzilla. I like the 54 version of Godzilla better than the 55 version with Perry Mason in it.
It was a Korean monster movie I saw. It was several years ago.
Yongri the Great.
Yeah, it came out in the mid to late aughts.
The host?
Korean, The Host.
I think it might have been what it was called.
Yeah, with the
dub, it was, and then people were talking about how great it was. I watched the dub, and it was terrible. I should have watched it sub.
Yeah. I mean,
just got over it.
Yeah,
just watched it sub.
That's kind of just for me, I prefer to watch Japanese films subbed over dubs because most of the time they don't have good voice actors and it just sounds ridiculous.
I didn't mind.
I think the one time where I think you pretty much can't watch it subbed you wanted to is like those old spaghetti westerns where the dudes are just speaking Italian, they just dubbed over them in English. I think that's just pretty much you gotta accept it.
I mean, if you want to watch anything from Sergio Leone, like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, A Fistful of Dollars, A Few Dollars More, if you want to watch the Dollars trilogy, Clint Eastwood speaking English, but everyone else is speaking whatever the hell they want to, and Lee Van Cleef.
Although there was another movie, Hero, I watched dubbed, and that was tolerable.
It wasn't too bad. It wasn't. Yeah, Hero isn't that bad. The problem with Hero is that it's this big. Hero is this big propaganda piece about how great the unification of China was, conveniently forgetting that all of these other kingdoms were wiped the fuck out and lots of people were murdered. But the unification of China is great.
I didn't really care about the story. I was just really intrigued in the fight scenes.
Yeah.
All the fight scenes.
Yeah.
At least at the time, I didn't really see a lot of stuff like that. So, yeah, these fight scenes are pretty neat. But I didn't really remember the story that much.
Yeah, Hero. The fight scenes are pretty good in Hero until you find out that it's the guy. The main character is an assassin who's just there to assassinate the then emperor. And that he's basically just been, every story he's told is just a lie so they can get close enough to the emperor to kill him. And like I said, it's one big propaganda piece about how great the unification of China is, even though a lot of the other independent kingdoms of China were wiped the fuck out. And royal family, families with children and shit were wiped, put to the sword. It's brutal. I mean, but like I said, I've seen bad. I mean, there's some shit you can't really get subs of it. You watch some of the early Jackie Chan stuff, like Snake and Eagle Shadow, Drunken Master, the first Drunken Master. It's all dubbed, and that's the only way you can watch it is dubbed.
Fortunately, he dubbed it himself with his own voice, at least.
No, they have some other guy because I'm like Jackie Chan doesn't sound like that. Yeah, Jackie Chan doesn't sound like that, and you could tell it's early Jackie Chan because when Jackie Chan was young, he had parts where his teeth had been knocked out, and I guess he saw a really good dentist and got the shit fixed. Because you can see later films where he's got that perfect smile, but you look at his really early shit, and he's like, you snaggletooth motherfucker, go buy you some better teeth.
How old is he? Isn't he in his 70s now?
Yeah, he's old. He's in his seven. Here, let me look it up. Jackie Chan's age. I think he's let me look. Because a lot of those Hong Kong people don't age well. Because plus Jackie Chan's been in a lot of
67.
He's 67. He's a year older than my mother.
Oh, okay. When you do, I'm sure when you, because people like Jackie Chan, Jet Li, who else? Other big action movie or kung fu. I'm sure if you do stuff like that, you mess up. I bet it's hard on your body after a while.
Yeah, no, that's why you usually see a lot of more recent Jackie Chan being more of that improv fu where he's using a lot of props.
Yeah, because I mean, that dude's put his body through a lot of shit. He's partially deaf. He fell down. He's broken multiple parts of multiple bones. But he was a trooper. He got back up and completed the stunt. I mean, look, listen. I'm not casting aspersions on the man's work ethic, but he has some personal issues that I'm not that fond of, but
Yeah.
Racial stuff like was he?
No, he's a
children.
he has outside children on his wife. He has a daughter that he
Oh.
basically doesn't give a fuck about, but he has like from his wife. But then he has like outside boys that he just dotes on. He's a member of the even though he made his money in the Hong Kong cinema, he's a proponent of China taking over Hong Kong. And those people losing their rights that they've had for years now.
Yeah, he's probably got some connections with the CCP.
I don't know. I'm just saying that is
Allegedly.
Yeah, I'm not really all that. I kind of. We were gonna get to some of these other things, but I think we should wrap it up. So, anything you guys want to bring up before we wrap things up?
I haven't still going through the Akira manga, and man, Tetsuo just in the manga, he's
piece of shit.
Worse. Yeah, he's far worse.
Yeah,
he's off the chain. Like he just goes and completely blows up the head of one of the literal head of one of the clown gang members, and be like, "Yeah, I'm in charge now."
Well, I mean,
God dang.
I mean, basically, like they condense his because he basically gets his psychic powers, and he basically he gets out of control really quickly in the anime because they have like what a 2-hour runtime, hour and a half.
Yeah.
Whereas like you can have that slow gradual in like a 6-volume manga, so.
Yeah,
it's easier. It's I mean, this is why long form storytelling is sometimes better than short form storytelling. It's the reason why. I mean, I've said this before. There should have been a instead of doing a solo movie, they should have done a solo TV show because that would have made more sense. But it is what it is. Yeah, but I agree. Louis, Jewel, anything you guys want to add before we wrap things up?
Well, I was actually curious about this one link you sent, the Neo Classic Arcade series.
Yeah, Platinum apparently is doing a series of arcade games. I'm glad they have something going on where they can bring some money in.
So these are original titles then?
Yeah, these are original titles, starting with Soul Cresta, but then it's going on to Galactic Badass beat 'em up action. Like these are all games they're working on, and I'm just
arcade cat. They're making arcade cabinets for
arcade games that they're coming out for the Switch. They're coming out with Switch, the PS4, and Steam. And I'm glad they're doing something because God knows.
No, this has my attention. I love it. I thought these were actually re-releases because I had never heard of any of these.
No, I'm glad they're doing something because God knows Square Enix just kicked them in the nuts with that fucking Babylon's Fall.
That's a shame what Square Enix did to that game.
Yeah, we need to dumb it down so that everyone can play it. It's like, yeah, but you got Platinum to make it. Platinum doesn't make games like that. And when they do, they're bad. Because they did that with that Korra game, where we're going to make it a baseline game anyone can get into. And it sucked.
Korra was not very good.
Shit, everyone who played Korra had the same complaints about Korra that people have about Babylon's Fall. Korra doesn't get good.
I bought that game because I was heard that Platinum was making it.
But you thought it was going to be good, yeah.
Yeah, that was when I think Activision was licensing them for like 3 games or something.
Yeah, well, the thing is that we got some good games from them under Activision. Like the Transformers game is great.
Yeah, I heard good things about that.
Transformers is great. The TMNT game, the gameplay design, like how you basically go around fighting enemies, and then a boss appears and you beat the boss, and then you go to the next level. The gameplay loop is repetitive, but the actual combat is great too. Korra is the weakest one, but the problem with Korra is the same issue with Babylon's Fall. It was dumbed down to appeal to the largest audience, and it doesn't get good until you get all your abilities at the end of the game. Why would you make a developer like Platinum who's good at making fighting systems? They're really good at it, but you have to put the time in to get good at using it. Nah, dumb it down so anyone can play it. And we're going to make it a live service game, too. It's like, oh, God, no.
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
And
Well,
all
yes.
the good faith they made with Final Fantasy 14 went up in a puff of smoke.
Well, not really. I think
Oh
the
my
dedicated
God.
fan base of Final Fantasy 15 is still going to like, because Final Fantasy 15 hasn't been fucked
I
up
said
yet.
14.
14, yeah,
Final
14.
Fan-
Yeah, I don't think the people who like Final Fantasy 14 have given up hope for that. But this definitely was a ding on Platinum. This hurt Platinum. And it's sad because, Platinum is always like one or two flops away from going out of business.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if I don't think it's gonna happen, but if Nintendo bought them, because they've, for the most part, have been the most consistent with them
Yeah.
versus a lot of the other people that they've worked with.
I would love for Nintendo to buy Platinum.
You think I was actually talking about potential acquisitions for Platinum with other people. Some people think that these character action games just don't float on Nintendo and that they'd be better off at Sony. What are your thoughts on that?
Sony would fucking destroy them. Like
'Cause the thing
Sony
is that-
destroys
What?
so many other things. If
'Cause I was
Sony
telling
bought
this-
them, they would destroy them.
Yeah, so this isn't the 6th gen anymore where you had like a Bayonetta, Darksiders, a God of War. It just isn't that same environment anymore.
Well, I think that could come back. It's just more niche. Because if it didn't work, THQ Nordic wouldn't exist. And those are a lot of the games they bring out are games like that. I do think there's room. Sony doesn't
just
want
might
games
have
like that.
Hmm.
Sony wants huge AAA single player experiences, like the new God of War, Horizon. I feel sorry for Guerrilla Games because when the first Horizon came out, a game from Japan came out, an open world game from Japan came out, and stumped that game stumped a mud hole in that game's ass, and that was Breath of the Wild. Then they came up with their second game, and they're like, "This time it's gonna be great." And then yet again, another game came from Japan and stumped a mud hole in their game's ass, and this time it was Elden Ring.
At this point, I'm excited for the next Horizon announcement because I want to know what Japan comes out that'll blow me away.
Yeah. Whatever the next Horizon game is going to be, I don't give a fuck about that. I just want to know what Japanese game is going to come out and stomp a mud hole in its ass. That's all I want to know. What's it going to be? What is it going to be? Like an open world Fire Emblem that's actually an RPG, like a traditional RPG single player Fire Emblem spinoff? That'd be interesting. You're a knight whose kingdom fell, and now you're a mercenary, just trying to make a new home for yourself. Here's the world. I'd play that, like a Fire Emblem spinoff.
Yeah, and Sony, I think they kind of want to go towards live service games because
they want that recurrent transaction.
They want that, they want that English cash cow. But the thing is, it's hard to find. Like, Final Fantasy 14. Many people don't remember, but when it first came out, it was an absolute failure.
Yeah. They had to fire the director and get a new guy on. Yoshi P had to come and take over and fix that game by listening to the fans, by listening to people who were playing the game to fix the game. The sad thing about it is that Square Enix is trying so hard to get live service going, and it's like, dude,
they're reaching.
I mean, it takes work. I mean, it took it takes years to get something like that up and running properly.
Yeah, or you have a really good idea and leave people alone while they workshop it and stop coming in there. Because if you look at the good ideas that come out of the Square Enix executives are from the main executive, the guy who's the president. Like, he's been given the green light to a lot of good shit. But the bad ideas come from the people under him or to the side of him that are just don't know shit about the where the market is going or the work that it entails to make shit work. And they put some shit for it that doesn't work. That's why we got Babylon's Fall. That's why we got Marvel's Avengers. That's why we got that other game that didn't do too well under them. I mean, Like it's like they just keep on trying to force a fucking, they're like a dude who's hanging out with a girl who says, "Look, I just want to be friends, and I already have a boyfriend, I'm romantically linked to somebody," and the fucker just won't get the hint that you're in the friend zone, dude. It's not gonna change.
Yeah.
You have better luck with paper.
Look, horny. Here's some lotion, and go take care of yourself. ain't nothing going on but the rent. It's like, it's like they don't get it. And it's like, look, there are IPs that Square Enix has that could be a live service game, but they don't want to do it. Like, instead of creating a new IP and taking studio, like, just doing it like that, they keep on getting greedy and being assholes about it.
No, I hear you. I think that's probably why they're floundering so much with those recent revivals of pretty much dead IPs like Star Ocean and that Valkyria thing.
Oh, that Star Ocean game looks like shit. I'm sorry.
They stole a lot of stuff from Xenoblade Chronicles. That's all I'm gonna say. They stole a lot of stuff. Yeah.
It's like, what is this? What is this Chinese, cheap Chinese crap that you're trying to sell us?
Yeah, and the thing is, they almost had me, but I was like, nah, this is probably gonna be like Phantasy Star.
Well, Star Ocean hasn't been good for a long time. Star Ocean went to shit. Like when they did the Star Ocean End of Time on the PS2, the one that basically was supposed to end out the series, where you find out that you're just characters in a huge video game and you somehow fight your way.
Third one, yep.
Yeah, that was supposed to be the end of the series, or maybe the fourth one, because I think there was a Star Ocean spinoff on the Game Boy Color in Japan or whatever. But like that was supposed to be the end, and then they did one on the PS3, and that one was fucking terrible.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like a prequel or something.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a prequel or a side story or whatever. And then
most of us know how prequels usually end up at times.
Yeah, prequels for RPGs aren't very good. And then they did another one last gen that was even worse than the prequel, and now they're doing another one, and I'm like, y'all just don't get it. Y'all just don't fucking get it. I'm probably gonna get it because I want Star Ocean to be good, but I'm probably not gonna do. It's not gonna be a day one purchase for me.
This will be the first one I ever get because I just hear nothing but just lukewarm responses about that series. The second one, at least.
I heard the older stuff is pretty decent, but
yeah, I mean, Star Ocean 1, 2, and 3 are good.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
like if you like I'm one of those JRPG heads who went and got Tales of Phantasia for the SNES, I mean for the Super Famicom, and Star Ocean for the Super Famicom, and ripped the ROMs and patched them and put them on my EverDrive and played it like that. So like I'm one of those huge I love the purity of the games and have to play them on the original hardware type people back in the day. Now I'm much less like that because I'm like, I don't have time to be dragging out all these fucking consoles and plugging shit in and changing to the channel and hooking in the thing. I don't feel like doing all that. But here's what I'll say about Star Ocean. Star Ocean is a really good idea that has never been really well executed. The idea is that what if you're at a time where it's like a science fiction adventure where someone lands on a really primitive planet and it's science and technology and mixed with a world where there's magic and shit. The problem is that every Star Ocean starts out really strong like that, but then devolves into sword and sorcery with very little technology. And it's like,
yeah, we didn't want to think too hard about the technology part, so
yeah, the only
defaulted on, oh, it's magic. That's because that's easy.
It's like, oh, runology. It's really advanced technology that's like magic. Oh, that's not a dragon. It's a creature that ignites its breath creating sparks with its teeth, which creates fire breath, and it's got scales and it flies. It's a dragon. It's not a dragon. It's a species. It's like, no, motherfucker. It's like. If you're gonna have, I would say Xenoblade does the science and technology mixture best, because you do have science and technology. Yeah.
Personally, for me, Xenoblade always just qualified as science fiction. It just has a very nice mystical paint job to it.
Yeah, it does. But I mean, like it's done better. Like even Phantasy
Yeah.
Star does the science and magic mixture better than Star Ocean. Star Ocean just kind of fucks it up every time. They're like even Tales, even the Tales series has that. Well, this is really advanced technology that you think is magic, but it's really just really advanced technology. That makes more sense than the shit we have now, which is just Star Ocean is just a really good idea, just poorly executed, unfortunately.
Well, the problem with science fiction, and even if when you mix fantasies, you kind of have to have more of an explanation than just it's just magic.
Yeah, that's kind of a big reason why a lot of the post 10 Final Fantasies just start to blend in together with me. They this whole Magitech society they always have, it just got dull for me.
I actually like the concept of Magitech because if it's utilized well, the
Mhm.
problem is that it's not utilized well. Like, imagine if they did a Final Fantasy, right? That was like a throwback to like 6, 7, 5, 4, right?
hmm
And you had a society where there was a catastrophe and certain places held on because they used what they had to hold on and prevent some type of environmental catastrophe from taking over their little areas where they could hold. So like maybe the Mughals who are Magitech masters, they were like, okay, we're going to use our magic technology to hold on. So like maybe you have some Mughals who used their Magitech to hold on to their city, but maybe you have some Mughals who are like, we don't like magic technology because we think that the reason this environmental catastrophe happened was because of that. We're going to use just our magical abilities. So they're living out in the woods, they're like the wood Mughals who can dance and all that type of shit. So that you have that dichotomy of societies. Magitech can be freaking awesome if it's well utilized and well, like you show a real division between Magitech, magic, and other types of technology and magic and stuff like that. But if you're just gonna say it's Magitech, what Magitech, that's what they've been doing since I would say 10 is the last one where there was a division, but then you go to like 10.2 and like 13 and 12, and it's like, I don't like this.
Enough said.
I don't like it. And it's
Yeah,
evil.
no, like especially when I got to 13, where I couldn't really tell what I was looking at. It just looked like one big slop of genre mixing.
Yeah. Plus, Lightning isn't the most interesting character.
Not at all.
And I know some people are
Clearly.
going to be like, how could you say that? She's a female Cloud.
Female version Cloud.
hmm
She's a female Cloud, except she's got
No
smaller
She
boobs.
got less personality. I was about to say she got less personality than Cloud, and we both. As much as I like Cloud to a degree, even I can admit that Cloud has Cloud has more personality than Lightning.
Well, Cloud doesn't. Well, because Cloud isn't supposed to have personality, because he's basically just a simulus. He's basically a homunculus created from leftover
Yeah.
DNA from Genova. And
But
what
as I said,
little personality he does have is he got from Zach Fair.
Zach,
And
Yeah.
he doesn't really develop his personality until the third act, or depending on whenever you do his side story, where he finds out that he's just a fucking homunculus, and like he never the reason he doesn't remember is that he doesn't have any fucking memories anyway, And the only reason that he didn't go fucking batshit crazy like Sephiroth did is because he did take memories from Zach Fair. Like the same thing that basically caused Sephiroth to go crazy when he ran into the corpse of Genova is the same thing that kept him from going crazy, because he didn't run into the corpse of Genova. He ran into the corpse of Zach Fair. So I mean, this is why I say Final Fantasy VII is a lesser Final Fantasy VI, because the same story beats from 6, which is the main story for Terra, who arguably is the main character of Final Fantasy VI, is that her reclaiming her humanity and discovering her identity and what she is, who and what she is, and what she fights for. Final Fantasy VII is Cloud Strife is the main character, is discovering who he is and who and what he stands for and reclaiming his identity. It's the same thing. Except
Yeah,
it
I
was
think
done better in Final Fantasy VI.
there's actually this funny joke where they got this letter to the President of Square Enix where it's the pitch for Final Fantasy VI if they just crossed out a couple things or replaced them with 7 terminology. I'll
Yeah.
send it to you.
Yeah, it's, Magicite took the place of relics. Overdrives took the place of like overdrives became the little special innate little abilities that each
Avalanche
character
was
had
a
in 6.
replacement for the Returners, I think they were called.
Yeah, basically, it's like everything is just, Sephiroth is a shittier version of Kefka. Except Kefka actually had a reason for him being a dick, whereas Sephiroth's just like, well, I'm a clone from an
Family
alien,
issues.
and I didn't know my mother, so everyone has to die. It's like, well, why do we have to die? Because you got mommy issues, you punk. It's like, everyone has to die because I didn't know my mother. There's plenty of people who are orphans who aren't killing people because they didn't know their mother. You're just a punk. Sephiroth is a punk, okay? That's all I'm saying. He's a punk who has cool theme music, but a punk nonetheless.
I hear you. He just really appeals to the edge factor.
Well, I mean, for the people that I've seen who really love Final Fantasy VII, I asked them what was the first Final Fantasy you played. Most of them say Final Fantasy VII. It's the Final Fantasy that popped their cherry, and so for them, it's the best one. I mean, a lot of people feel that way about Legend of Zelda. Like a lot of people, the first Legend of Zelda they played was Link to the Past, so that's the best one. Other people, it's Ocarina of Time, so that's their favorite. Like everyone remembers that first one. That's the best.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I used to be that way too, where I'm like, this is the first one I played, so it must be the best one because that's the one that I have the most nostalgic feelings for. But now that I've played enough Final Fantasies and enough Legend of Zelda games, I can be more objective because I played the breadth of them. Like I can appreciate that Legend of Zelda 2 tried to do something different for the franchise. Didn't really work all that well, but they tried to do something different. I like Legend of Zelda 3 because it's one of the most best paced Legend of Zeldas I've ever played. I appreciate what Ocarina of Time was doing, but Ocarina of Time is basically the Final Fantasy VII to A Link to the Past Final Fantasy 6. Because
Yeah, I can hear that.
7 is, Ocarina of Time is literally a 3D version of Link to the Past, except...
Would you say Majora's Mask is the Final Fantasy IX then?
No, Majora's Mask is really innovative. The only problem is that it's too short. That's the problem with that game is that it's too short. Like it only has like 5 dungeons in the main world, plus like I think 4 mini dungeons, which I'm not counting as full dungeons. The Skulltula houses, and then you have the moon. That's it. It's like, Majora's Mask tells the best story, and Majora's Mask does something that Ocarina of Time couldn't do. Ocarina of Time playing as young Link is miserable, and it sucks.
You want to try?
Okay. Why would I say that? What makes Ocarina of Time Young Link better than Majora's Mask Young Link, Joel? Since you disagree.
I'm just saying that if anything, I feel like if anything, you at least get the feeling of growing with the hero and basically knowing that he at least can be powerful, being small or big.
Yeah, but you don't get that in Ocarina of Time because being Kid Link is a miserable experience. You don't have access to your best weapons. You don't have access to you can use magic, but you have to find that. Most of the really good magic you find as an adult anyway, except for Din's Fire. That's pretty useful. You have masks, but the masks kind of suck. You have the boomerang sucks as a distance weapon. Even though it's damage wise, it's better than the slingshot, but not great. I mean, nothing that you have as a kid is great. You're like literally playing Ocarina of Time in the first part of it is literally you doing whatever you need to do to get the 3 stones so that you can become an adult and can actually do some cool shit. Because the Kokiri sword sucks.
Yep. Yeah, you're practically carrying yourself with Deku sticks to get that big damage.
Yeah, and Deku sticks break after 1 hit. Although there is a bug that you can do where you get the unbreakable Deku stick, and then you can. It's kind of fun. But why should I have to use a bug in order to enjoy playing Young Link in Ocarina of Time? Majora's Mask makes Young Link enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like his movement is better. His weapons are better. Yeah, you start out with the Kokiri sword, but you can upgrade it to the Razor sword, the Gold sword. You can do the Great Fairy missions and get the Great Fairy sword, which heals you. Well, does it heal you? No, it's basically that game's version of the Bigoron sword, but it does lots of damage. It's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, like Majora's Mask makes being a kid so much more fun than it was in Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time is like I have to go through this shit in order to get to the good part.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you even start out with the Hylian field, so I mean, it's just
And you can't skip those damn cutscenes as a kid. It's like, how many times do I have to listen to Kabor Garbor give me the same fucking speech over and over again? Unskippable, too.
Quite frankly, and the thing is, I always hated having to go to the Spirit Temple as a kid because, quite frankly, that half is just so much weaker than the other half.
Yeah, fighting a Iron Knuckle as a kid with that shitty Kokiri sword is just...
No.
Mm-mm.
Like you have
you're
to
fighting
get
a
in
Dodongo.
there.
No, fighting a
Dodongo.
Dodongo as a kid is kind of fun.
See, for me, anytime, because I know it's a cheesy story, but to read Dead's Man as a kid, it's just not even worth the time because as an adult, just 2 spin attacks, bang bang, done done. But as a kid, just sun song him. And
No, Redeads weren't that bad once you got Din's fire because you could use because they were weak to fire. That damn Dead Hand as a kid in the at the dungeon at the bottom of the well.
Right.
That motherfucker.
Oh yeah, he was
Classic
one grist.
Cheese. Oh god.
Fuck that.
Like is a a-hole.
All I'm gonna say is this: Kid Link in Ocarina of Time is a trial to overcome. Kid Link in Majora's Mask, even though I think Majora's Mask treats becoming an adult as what it should be because basically the Fierce Deity Mask is essentially adult Link, and it's like, wow, this is amazing. Whereas Kid Link is like it's like the game's punishing you in Ocarina of Time is for being a kid. Whereas you can beat Majora's Mask without ever getting the Fierce Deity Mask. It's harder, but you can do it.
Yeah.
But you're punished for being a kid. As a matter of fact, it's a major part of the story. It's like you get the Master Sword, and like literally, Ocarina of Time gives you the shittiest version of Kid Link because Link's a kid in all the other games too. Before then, like Link's a kid in the original Legend of Zelda. He's a kid in Link's Awakening. He's a kid in Legend of Zelda 2. He's a kid in Legend of Zelda 3, aka Link to the Past. And he's deadly. He can use the Master Sword. But not in Ocarina of Time. He picks up the Master Sword and Ganon's like, ha 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 ha, you've opened the way to the second realm and I can get the Triforce. I'm evil.
Yeah, I'm sure the reward is there on your first playthrough, but going forward, you're just really running through it just to get to just a more comfortable experience overall.
Yeah. It's like once you become an adult, it's like, I don't like being a kid.
There's very little to go back to. You just learn the song to get the horse, go back for the well, that spirit half. Or maybe some gold sculptures, but really there's almost no incentive for me to ever go back ever.
Yeah, the Skulltulas are cool. The Skulltulas are cool. I'll give them that. The Skulltulas are cool. The Happy Mask Salesman. The Mask of Truth is kind of interesting because you can talk to the
statues,
to those weird statues that give you little gameplay hints, which are cool. But being a kid is just
that whole thing. Yeah, that was that's kind of poorly designed. Being able to, they should have made the Kid Link more interesting. So
Well, the thing is, they were trying to do it's the reason why I say Ocarina of Time is is basically kind of like Link to the Past, but just with some terminology changes. Like they were trying to do the light world, dark world dichotomy that you have in
past and future.
But past and future. But the problem is that, like in Link to the Past, as like Link, once you get your uncle's sword and you start powering yourself up, and even in the light world in Link to the Past, you're still like dangerous as time goes by. Like once you get the arrows and the boomerang, and you upgrade the boomerang to the magic boomerang, and you get Zora's flippers, and you get the ice rod, it's like you start becoming a badass.
Yeah.
Nowhere as Link as a kid do you feel like you're a badass. Like you get the boomerang. Oh, this boomerang's cool. Too bad it doesn't work on any enemy I really want to use it on. I mean, the bombs are kind of cool, and the bombs are kind of interesting, but
Yeah, no, the most functional items Kid Link had, he got transferred over to Adult Link because there is no use for the boomerang outside of just getting a sculpture. Literally, I think that item loses all its functionality
yeah,
once you leave that third dungeon.
yeah, a Skulltula and maybe a few little like side areas it's useful for.
Hmm.
It's, I mean,
That
that's
was the
kind of
problem with that was the problem with Twilight Princess is the fact there's many items that you got in those dungeons that you just only used to solve overworld puzzles to get heart pieces. Other than
yeah,
that, it's
but
just
heart
not
pieces
all
are
that useful.
useful. Heart pieces are fucking useful. They make you able to take more damage. Like basically, Ocarina of Time is like Ocarina of Time was great for the time, but if you like Ocarina of Time, but you wish that certain aspects were better, go play Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess is Ocarina of Time, but better because Link as a wolf is useful. Link as a human, his human form, both are useful. Both equally have their strengths and weaknesses. Okay, like
Yeah.
adult Link is great in a fight, but Link in his wolf form, his feral attack is fucking deadly, and he's badass. He's totally badass in his wolf form. And you don't have that feeling of this is a trial, this is a slog. Like the parts where you have to turn into Wolf Link or Wolf Link has to use his abilities. It's like this is useful. Like this Yeti took this musk fish, so I got to hunt down the smell. That's useful. I have to use Wolf Link's form to dig. That's useful. I have to use Wolf Link's form to take out these fucking shadow people so that I can open up a portal so I can teleport here. That's useful. Like because the feral attack will hit all of them at the same time. Because if I don't, they'll keep on resurrecting each other. Like all that shit. Like these are useful abilities that don't make you feel like you're just kind of just there. Whereas Kid Link in Ocarina of Time is just like.
I hear you.
Although, if someone enjoyed playing as Kid Link, knock yourself out. For me, it was a morose. The first time I played Ocarina of Time, it was great. Second time, also good. Third time, good.
I played the game 1,000 times. I'm worn out by it. I'm probably its biggest critic now. I enjoyed it, but I will not lie for it.
Yeah. I'm the person who, because I was in that age group where your parents got you a game and you didn't want them to get rid of it, so you just played the shit out of it. And I remember when I got my N64, because I don't think I got it the first year it came out, or maybe I did, but no, and I didn't get it the first year. But the first year I had my N64, it came with Super Mario 64, like that was the bundle. And then I think the next year for my birthday, or maybe for that holiday or during the summer, I got Ocarina of Time. And I have played Ocarina of Time on the N64 so fucking much that it's like, like the more you play that game, the more you realize there's some design issues with it. Like you can't skip cutscenes. Like I'm tired of fucking seeing the Great Deku Tree die. I get it. I'm tired of listening to Mado talk shit to Link. It's like, you killed the Great Deku Tree. So you're talking shit to me, but you didn't see that tall redhead black man come back here earlier? Like, really? I'm the problem? Really, motherfucker? Really? It's just like, unskippable cutscenes with Kabor Gabora, and it's like, can I just skip this and get to the gameplay, please? The bad 3D level design where enemies just like unfairly drop on you.
And some of the boss AI was just, it would be complimenting too much to say it was manipulable. It was just, it's
That's
just
why
like,
you put. That's why you play. That's why you play the game in a different language with the shorter speech bubbles.
I didn't have that. I didn't have that.
Memorized. Yeah, I mean, you guys probably already memorized a lot of the script of the game. It's like, it's playing different.
No, it's unskippable. Like Kabor, like as soon as you leave the Great the Great Forest, and you leave that bridge where Link just leaves Soraya sitting there looking at him like, that's my boyfriend. and he runs off, and you enter Hyrule Field, and you run into Kabora Gabora, and you have to go for that long fucking cutscene where he
Yeah.
talks to you,
The
and
worst
it's
part is
like
if you're even in his vicinity, he just engages in conversation with or without your consent.
you can't skip it. You can't skip the talk with Kabora Gabora. He has to talk to you. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. I get it. I've played this game. Like, there should be a thing in Ocarina of Time where it asks you, have you played this game before? Yes. Then you can skip all these fucking cutscenes. Thank you.
And in addition, there's just some really, I would almost say, Monkey Island moon logic in how you would proceed. Because I remember my first wall that I hit was getting to the third level. It's a giant fish, and the thing is, you've got no real hint
Jabu
of
Jabu's belly.
yeah, yep. The thing is, if you go ahead and backtrack down there to that pond in Zora's Domain and just decide to go ahead and dive into that hole, you'll find the bottle on the other end of the map that has a letter. And I was like, what if I hadn't done that? What if I had just messed around and just gone in circles, not realizing I had to go ahead and find that? Yeah, I don't know. I make
Now,
them.
see, I'm putting that on you because, like, Legend of Zelda has tropes that, if you've played Legend of Zelda games, there are tropes. Like, if you go to a pond and there's like, it looks suspicious, dive into it. If you see a wall that looks kind of funny, bomb it. If there's a ring of stones, there might be something in the middle of them. Like, that's Legend of Zelda logic.
Not here, probably because it was my first entry. Like when I saw those blue blocks that you apparently removed with the Song of Time, I was like, "What am I looking at? It's just a nondescript blue block."
Yeah,
here.
yeah. If it's your first game and you hadn't played Link to the Past or the first Legend of Zelda or Link's Awakening or the Game Boy Color, like if you hadn't been playing Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time has some kind of confusing moments. But if you're a Zelda veteran, it's like, yeah, I got this. I know what to do. And plus, you have to talk to everyone because they're like, yeah, well, like you figure out you have to. Well, you get your first bottle from Talon for waking his ass up because he left his
Right.
daughter in.
It's unavoidable.
Yeah.
But here's one thing that always got me is that you don't even initiate her appearing to tell you to give her the egg unless you go back and forth, talk to her first, and then enter that palace again. I was honestly stumped my first time.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where if you're a Zelda veteran, you kind of
Right.
you just kind of you follow Zelda logic because we're trained because we play a lot of those damn
Yeah,
games.
no, I've acquired the skills, especially playing some LucasArts. Scrub everything, leave no stone unturned.
Yeah, talk to
Yeah.
everyone, pick up everything, even if you don't think
Yep.
it's useful. But anyway, yeah, Ocarina of Time, like to me, just Ocarina of Time. Like I know, like IGN says it's like one of the best Legend of Zeldas ever. I'm like, I love Ocarina of Time, but there's some issues with that game.
Of course.
But anyway, that's the end of the cast. Anything you guys want to pimp out aside from life in general?
I think it's gonna do something different on Tuesday. We're just gonna talk about our past E3, since we don't know if she's dead or if they're just gonna reanimate her for another year before they put her in the ground.
I hope
So-
they bring back E3 because there needs to be competition. Because like if I have to watch like 2 or 3 days of Jeff Keighley's commercials for bullshit that I don't want anyway, I'm gonna lose my damn mind.
Yeah, I don't think the Game Awards is a good replacement at all for E3.
No, I don't. And he has this summer thing where he
worse.
poaches a lot of shit from E3 because he did the same thing last year where a lot of announcements were poached from E3 to his bullshit. And I'm like,
Yeah, Summer's Game Fest. I don't know if I.
yeah, because it's a big commercial. It's a big fucking commercial. And
Yeah,
Jeff
so
Keighley
this-
is a pitch man. He'd pimp his mother out if he thought he'd get some money out of it.
So we'll just be talking about our experience with E3. When we first discovered E3, some of the biggest surprises that we saw at E3, stuff like that.
All right, that's gonna be fun. Louis, you do anything? You have a YouTube channel you want to pimp out? Content?
No content, but as usual, I like to go ahead and speak for product I like. Anyone who likes good old visual novels, play the Somnian Files. That's it.
Oh, that sounds cool. Joel, anything you want to pimp out? Nothing. Okay. That's in the cast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Peace and